Can you make me a cup of coffee?
So I'm gonna call the meeting to order.
No.
See if we have a quorum. Joe Calamati,
Here.
Kevin.
Here.
Let's see, Jennifer,
Here.
Joyce.
Yep.
We have a quorum. If we jump right into the agenda. We could approve the minutes from the June 22nd meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Are there any comments, questions, or changes proposed?
No.
No.
All those in favor of approving the minutes for June 22nd, aye.
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 Opposed? The minutes are approved. The minutes for the July 13, 2020 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Second?
Second. I'll second.
Are there any comments, questions, or proposed changes?
Nope.
All those in favor of approving the minutes for July 13, aye.
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 Opposed? The July 13 minutes are approved. Actually, is the town warrant draft available, Tina?
I gave everybody a copy in their email with all the information I sent out over the weekend, the meeting materials. There was a copy of the draft there.
Well, it's a lot easier if the town prints it out for us. I'll pick mine up and I'll pick Roland's up.
Tina,
Okay.
what's the label on it? Master?
Nope, that's Mary's. I think it's, hang on, I'm going to my emails, 1 second.
I've got 11 numbered documents. And then after master.
Yeah. I could not open it. Anyway.
It's
Oh.
SPM 11820. It's a Word document.
Yeah.
Yeah, all these are PDFs. It's another email?
Not the email from Mary, the one that I sent out, I believe it was yesterday.
That's right, I've got September 20th. That's the one email. So I've got 3, 4.
What day did you say, Tina?
Yesterday, Sunday.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
At 4:48 p.m.
It should have been earlier than that. It was in the after, it was around noontime. The one that I asked everybody to please respond and everybody responded to that email saying that they would be available tonight.
Yeah, I don't have a copy of the warrant.
Yeah.
I thought it would be in the packet that Mary gave us, but
I have 11 PDFs and 3 words. And the word,
The Word document that's labeled STM.
I just forwarded it out to you guys again just now.
okay.
All right. So I have that email. It was sent out at 12:15 yesterday. I can see 3 Word documents, a PDF, and there's a notation that says there are 15 attachments, but I cannot open any of the attachments. I have the email open right now.
Mhm.
I can't open the attachments. It must be too big.
Oh, I can open the words in the Word docs and the PDFs.
Can you open all 15 documents?
Yeah,
Or
but
just the 4 that show?
yeah, 15. How many do
I can't open the 15. So, okay, let's move on to the next item then. Is Mary McKinnon on the call?
I'm right here, John.
Okay, you have a presentation?
Well, I didn't know how you wanted to approach it. Or you're talking about capital, correct?
That's it. Go lay down.
So
I
it may
think
be
so.
a little problematic if you're unable to open any of the attachments. But what was sent out to the Finance Committee, Capital Planning Committee, and Board of Selectmen were copies of all of the departmental requested capital items for FY21 through FY25. They were sent out in PDFs by department, and I also included a cover sheet that lists out all of the departmental requests, totaling about just over $16 million worth of capital items. So at this point, I guess I'm questioning who was able to receive all of that information.
So I did see those documents. I was able to open the email from you, Mary, but not the one from Tina. So I did open those.
Okay, so then I did send out two, one was on Thursday and one was just the other day, as we had, or earlier today, I believe. We had, I had missed a couple of sheets from the library, so I had to send out a supplemental document that included the additional library requests. So there are 8 items from the library that are included on the capital schedule. So just want to make sure that we're all looking at the right set of documents. And so what you'll see on the cover sheet, and the cover sheet bottom line totals are 16.3 million. What you'll see is all of the departmental requests that include both high priority requested items for FY21, as well as some items that are requested for future years, so that the committees are aware of those items that are on the radar. There have been no funding sources assigned to these items yet. That is currently in progress. Dennis and I are taking a look at a number of funding options with the various department heads because there's some grant opportunities that we'd like to capitalize on. But we want to make sure that you guys had all of this information in front of you from the departments, so that you can go ahead and begin to schedule appointments with the departments. And I at this point, I just want to ask Dennis a question. I think, Dennis, you and I had talked, and we were thinking that given the time frame where we are in the calendar, that it would make sense to hold a workshop with the Board of Selectmen, and either if Finance Committee and Capital Planning Committee members can participate, that we have a separate workshop dedicated just to capital.
Right, that went out to the selectmen, asking him to look at possibly next Monday night, which I know the Capital Planning Committee is looking at getting together next Monday, but certainly that we look to have finance and capital join in, but that will be a workshop so that recommendations can go forward to FinCom and CFC.
Okay. So
I like that idea. The Finance Committee will join also.
excellent.
Can I ask a question on some of these? It appears like the fire one has additional documentation about what they're planning on doing with it, including quotes. The capital equipment purchase request form, which provides us more information, and it has quotes. Is there a reason the schools and not all the other ones are completing that same paperwork?
So the school, very good question, Joyce. And there's 2 sets that you have not received yet. Number 1 is the school, and number 2 is the library HVAC. So my conversations with the school, Joanne Rebello does have supporting documentation for her items. I just have not received it yet. So as soon as I receive it, I will package that up and send it over to you guys. I'd like to do it in one consolidated package to make it easier. And then the library HVAC, Bernadette and Dennis and a couple of other folks have been working really hard to try to get the number down. And Bernadette had just sent over some documentation to me late this afternoon. And in just the intent of not trying to confuse the matter, I didn't forward it to you as a last minute supporting doc yet. So you'll get that from me tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
So in the first column of numbers that says fiscal year 21, the total is $4,015,000. How much of that is going to go on to the fall warrant for capital?
So that's what we're working through right now, John. We sort of keep that number down a little bit. There are some changes. Dennis and I had a meeting this afternoon with Don DiMartino from DPW, and there are a couple of items in the DPW section that we anticipate delaying to future years. So some of those numbers will move over to the column just to the right of that. But again, I wanted to, because I had distributed all of this to you last week, I wanted everybody to have the same set of documentation. If we're gonna have a workshop on Monday, then what I'd like to do is by Friday afternoon, update this cover sheet and get that out to you guys with those changes embedded after we talk to a couple of departments to see which projects can be delayed.
Okay.
Mary, can I ask another question?
Of course.
I didn't see any information on the gymnasium request at all. The gymnasium floor, it didn't, is that a late ad?
So Joyce, that's a really good observation. And so what happened was the school department had submitted their request and it did not include the gymnasium floor. I put the gymnasium floor in there as a point of discussion. So the school department did include a request for the HVAC in the gymnasium. But knowing that we have a situation in our gymnasium with the floor and there are potential remedies for that, I included the floor as a placeholder in this schedule so that when we meet with the school department, we can have that conversation to determine what their plan is with the gymnasium floor. Joanne had indicated to me that the school committee at their most recent meeting had started talking about their capital items, had reviewed their list of requests, but had not made a formal vote on any of their items yet, and that the gymnasium floor is still in play in terms of active conversations. So right now it's in there more as a placeholder for us to determine how we're going to approach resolving the situation in the gymnasium.
So can I recommend that they look at more than one way of doing it? Installing a whole new floor after requesting the town do a 2.5 override seems a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Greedy?
So I think that would probably be a better conversation to have with the school committee to understand what the current situation is with the floor and what potential remedies there are. I would anticipate, given that their first pass at capital requests that came into us, because it only included the HVAC system, I'm going to assume, and we know the risk involved with assuming, I'm going to assume that perhaps that was phase 1 of a remedy for that gymnasium floor. But honestly, I think that we really need to hear from the school department, their facilities manager, and the school committee on where they stand with that gymnasium floor.
Okay.
Mary, this is Roland Lavely, and I'm sure we'll take this up next week anyway, but with regards to the gymnasium floor, it seems this has been something that's been going on now for several years. This is not brand new. It's not like it's showing up for the first time today. So have they done it? Is anything, Dennis, maybe you know, or somebody, have they done anything over the last couple of years in terms of diagnosing what the problem is and what to do?
They have, Roland, and I'll let them tell you, but they did have an engineering firm come in there, and I guess the results were better than what they thought as far as where the moisture was coming from, but better to have Roger tell you the results of that and get you a copy of what the architect or the engineer found with regard to the moisture problem.
Okay.
I also know they've used it the last few years without major issue. And I have a 9th grader that's using it 2 days a week now.
I think it would be important to hear from them on what their current status is, right? Excellent.
If I may, I have a question for Dennis.
Yep. Hi, Joe.
Dennis, have you talked to anybody in Rentham about the cost of that ambulance that just got, which is about $100,000 less?
Yeah, we did have a conversation with the chief, and quite a bit. He'll break it down. He actually did break it down in the information that he provided, but much of it is replacement gear for the other ambulances, Joe. So he'll discuss that. The actual ambulance itself is around $300,000. So it's considerably less. I know you and I had that conversation, but there are a lot of equipment, about $90,000, I believe was the number of equipment for
Yeah.
outfitting the vehicles. They'll keep 3. They'll keep 2 that will run in a backup, and they'll phase 1 out is the plan. So, and obviously he'll present that to you.
All right. Do we know what the mileage is on that ambulance he's taking offline?
I don't, Joe,
All
but
right.
I'm sure the chief will be prepared for that.
All right. Well, okay. I have another question for Mary. Mary, I was going over the request for their Zetron, and on the LL Bill, the LW Bill's quote, there's 4 sets of four quotes for different equipment. The first one for the expensive one has a 15% discount, but the other 3 quotes all have 25% discounts. And I believe that's because it's on a state bid. Is that a mistype by somebody to put down 15% instead of 25, or is the equipment covered in that first line bid different and not eligible for the 25% off?
So Joe, we'll have to take a look at that. I don't know if it's a typo or not, but I also want to highlight that this item was submitted earlier, back earlier in the year for the Springtown meeting. And if you look at the date on that quote, it's dated back in January. So if we are going to pursue that particular project, we need a refresh on that quote anyway.
Okay, I just want to point out that the equipment, the $54,000 bill on the first part of the quote,
Yep.
it only is listed as a 15% discount on the state bid, and all the other 3 for the equipment is a 25% discount.
Yep, I can see exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, good. Something you can follow up on them with, when they do the rebid, make sure that we're getting all our stuff, all our money.
Absolutely.
So, I have a question, and maybe it's not something that can be answered on tonight's call, but I would hope it could be discussed Monday night during the larger meeting. But when I was looking at the attachments to your email, Mary, it was difficult for me to determine if the invoices that were there were the results of some type of competitive bid, and I actually don't know what the town's requirements are for getting quotes to do this work, if competitive bids are required, if the process is formal or informal. So I don't even know if there's a state law that says a competitive bid is required for anything above a certain dollar amount. So it would be helpful for me if somebody, could explain that, and then explain which ones are following those bidding and quote processes.
Sure. That's a great question, John. And what I can do, the state IG's office handles procurement, and there is a state law, it's Chapter 30B, and they have put together a pretty simple and easy to follow chart. In essence, the thresholds are set by dollar values for the requirements. In terms of anything under 10,000 requires sound business practice, 10 to 50,000 requires 3 competitive quotes, and over 50 typically requires an RFP. There are some exceptions to that rule, but there is a pretty simple and easy to follow chart that I'm happy to share with everybody, and I can send the link out to you guys so that you can see that.
So for the finance committee to recommend any purchase on here, for example, the air compressor for $22,000, how do we know that has satisfied the 3 competitive bid requirement? We don't, based upon the paperwork submitted to us.
No, you don't. And so you got to remember that this is us doing initial planning for a capital program. And sometimes departments will go ahead and gather those 3 competitive quotes before they submit their requests. But sometimes departments will put together their requests and wait until we determine whether we're going to move forward with it before they go out and do all of the legwork to get that competitive pricing. So they can tend to get a price quote from one vendor, a typical vendor that they've done business with that's competitive. And then when we do indicate that we are going to move forward with it, then they will actually invoke procurement process and get those competitive bids or develop that RFP.
But is that after the finance committee makes their recommendation?
It can be, yes.
Typically, it is, John. Typically, what happens is departments go out, they get estimates, they put those forward, recommendations. Sometimes they're 3, 4, 5 months before town meeting, and then they might go out a month after that. But the accounting office is responsible for making sure that when those invoices are submitted, that either there's been 3 quotes submitted, or there's been a bid process that's gone underway, and that's one of the things that the auditors check when they come in and do their audit. They'll do a spot sampling to make sure that departments have properly procured their items. So that is that's a standard procedure for us whenever we're purchasing items, making sure that we follow the procurement law.
So is the process for the town to actually get an approved purchase order prior to making the purchase, and that purchase order is documenting that the minimum 3 bid requirement or 3 proposal requirement has been met? So is it met with when the purchase order is approved prior to the actual purchase being made?
That's correct.
It is?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So Mary, I would like to read that outline that the state puts together that the town is supposed to follow. If you could send that to me, please.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the only things that are exempt, John, are not really exempt, but you hear the expression state bid list. That's because the state went out and they'll do go through a master procurement process, and the law allows other governmental entities to piggyback on items that have been bid out that way. Things like that, we all purchase cruisers and certain common things, oftentimes copier machines.
Even that Zetron thing that Joe was asking about earlier, that is a state business.
Right.
So that's why there was only one quote in there.
So there are a lot of items that we'll purchase off of other people's or other governmental entities' bid process. But
Right. So that means the town is relying on the state's bid process, and we get the state's price, right?
That's correct.
that's correct. And
Okay.
there needs to be, when we get that purchase, or when we go through that procurement, one of the things that we ask for are the numbers associated with that state bid, so that we have the numbers that are associated with that bid. So it's not just a fabricated number that some vendor puts out.
Right. So I was aware of that, but it's hard for me to tell what does fall under that and what doesn't when we do, capital above and capital below 50 at the finance committee level anyway.
Yep. Once you see this chart, it'll become much more clear.
Okay.
Dennis, another question for you. How long are we going to continue to do Zoom meetings? Are we at a level now where we could go back to holding some of these hearings in person?
Yeah, it's your choice, John. We will continue with the Zoom for the public, but many boards are meeting in person. Tonight, the selectmen will meet in person, have been meeting in person here in the arcade room. Planning board has been, zoning board has been. We can't allow more than 14 people in the meeting room at one time, and we have it set up. That's where we are right now. And we'll be broadcasting on Access Bellingham tonight as well as Zoom, so that citizens can participate, but physically we're here. The school committee's been meeting here as well. So it is something that you can do if you choose to do, and we're set up for it.
Does anybody have an objection to meeting in person? Because quite frankly, dealing with people over Zoom, I don't think it's as effective as being there in person and seeing them eye to eye. And the quality of sound varies from computer to computer. Mary's talking in an echo. John's, I can hear him perfectly. Different computers have different pluses and minuses when it comes to these Zoom meetings.
Yeah, but Joe, I'm on an old-fashioned landline, so that's why.
Yeah, well, that's why it works so good. Yours is good, John. It's Mary's. It's like she's in an echo chamber.
So will next Monday's meeting be at the Arcand Room, and can some of us attend? Because I would rather do that one in person because of the subject matter.
Yep.
If that's okay.
Assuming that the selectmen are able to, it's going to be presented tonight, so assuming that they go ahead and schedule that for next Monday night, yes, we're limited to 14, but between myself and the select board, that's 6. So we can certainly have a number of people there. I don't think, they typically don't bust down the doors to join us. So I think you'll be okay.
Will that be at 6 o'clock, or has a time not been set yet?
I believe it'll be 7. I know the capital improvement committee is looking at meeting at 6.
Okay. Mary, will we be able to pick up the printed information either late Friday or early Monday morning?
Absolutely. So everything I emailed out to you guys has already been printed and it's here and ready for you. And then the only other change that I anticipate is those missing documents that Joyce had highlighted and an updated cover sheet moving some of the items into a future year. So we will absolutely get that incorporated into the packets that we have here, and you can come by and pick them up anytime.
Okay, so once those final changes are made at the end of the week, could you send out an email and we can pick it up?
You bet, absolutely.
Thank you.
And can we also get a copy of the draft warrant, so we get, because it's too big for us to print out at home.
I think Mary said she just emailed it to you, Joe, so you should have it. It's really a small warrant, only about 8 pages.
Okay.
But I'm happy, Joe. I made myself a note. That'll be in my office tomorrow morning, and you can come
Okay.
up at any time.
For this town meeting, it's really a pretty skinny warrant. The financials are the big thing. There are a lot of capital requests, and obviously the capital, a lot of it will be deferred to future years. And there's some amend Article 1 there. So
All right. Do we have an idea of how much money we actually have available to spend on capital items this fall? I know we got to keep at least 600 grand for snow.
So at this point, Joe, I'm reluctant to give out a final number. We have not had our free cash certified. We're in progress of doing the final closing and sending that over to be certified. I can give you an anticipation for water and sewer. I anticipate that water is going to have retained earnings certified in about the $500,000 range. So based on our conversations with Don earlier today, it looks like we will have sufficient funding to cover his water requests.
Okay.
In terms of sewer, I'm anticipating somewhere between 50 and 60,000 in retained earnings for sewer. So he has one sewer request on the capital program, and that request, using a combination of retained earnings and some existing appropriations in his budget, he believes that he'll be able to move forward with that sewer project.
Okay.
So all of the other items are a combination of either grant funding, free cash, potentially capital reserve, or an appropriation within an operating budget. And so all of that is being worked out right now. If I were to give you my estimate of free cash, I know you pulled me to it, so I'd rather just wait a little bit longer until I'm closer to certification.
When do you expect that, Mary? Because, you know, I don't mind a ballpark figure. It gives us something to rely, you know.
Something to shoot at.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, so
It's fine if it's going in.
I think we might be able to talk ballpark numbers next week, and then the certification will be a few weeks out.
Okay, that's okay. As long as we have a ballpark figure that, we can work with.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, thank you, because it does no good for us to review $4 million worth of requests if we only have $1 million, you know what I mean? I mean, we print money, unfortunately.
I am having a little bit of a hiccup with next week's schedule, because if we do, I was putting together a capital improvements meeting for 6 o'clock through Zoom, and I've already asked fire and police, and they both said that they could be there. Was thinking of trying to put in library too, but I know we have a 7 o'clock limit because of the selectmen's meeting at, no, sorry, selectmen's not on 7. 7 is the workshop. But if Joe wanted to be at the workshop in person, he's also on the Zoom capital improvements that's at 6. So I'm not sure.
The reason why we can't do the capital improvement in person? I assume, when I said, I mean, when you sent that request out, I assumed that we were all having to do Zoom, but if we could do in person, I just assume doing in person.
Yeah, I have no issue with that. And if Joe's already going to be there for the workshop anyway, I'll just run it by Kelly and Dan.
Well, worst case scenario, Tina, if we have to break off for the capital committee and go downstairs, I mean, we can accommodate, there's only, how many on the committee? There's like 3 of us, because one of the selectmen is going to be at the workshop. But I mean, we got to get this show on the road, and quite frankly, if we bring in the departments one at a time, they'll probably send 2 people, so we'll still have only 5 people downstairs. Well,
Okay, so I did arrange for police and fire next Monday at 6.
Joe, I think you won't be able to use the meeting room downstairs because you won't be able to broadcast via Zoom. So we can broadcast you via Zoom up here. We're set up for it, but that might be a little bit of an issue. And Jim can only be in one place at a time unless somebody else.
Are we limited to 14 because of the size of this room, or
Yeah.
14 in general?
14 because of the size of this room. So obviously downstairs.
Well, what if we considered meeting somewhere else? In a bigger room,
It's a possibility.
like the COA.
I don't know that we need to though.
Well, if we could consolidate the Board of Selectmen and I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
Well, next week, next week it's the selectmen are going to be hearing this stuff. It's not for, deliberation with all the boards. Yeah, it'll just be the same. Yeah. But the other boards are welcome to.
Yeah,
come in up
if
to 14. Yeah,
if they were available to attend and hear the conversation the first time around.
yeah.
Okay.
Are the selectmen going to make decisions at this workshop? Is that what they're going to do?
It hasn't even been scheduled yet, but I would imagine that they'll be looking at trying to offer some recommendations for FinCom and Capital.
Okay, and when will the selectmen make the decision about next Monday?
Tonight.
Tonight, okay.
Good morning. Yeah, how am I doing?
Okay, is there anything else for remaining on item 6?
No, I think at this point, you guys just need to set a schedule in terms of meeting with the departments and setting some meeting dates.
Okay. Tina, we can do that next Monday, once we have more information.
Okay, that's fine.
We could set the meetings.
I'd like to tentatively just try to see if we could book the rooms if we're going to do them in person. And next Monday, the 28th, if we're meeting with the capital improvements, the following Monday, the October 5th, selectmen have a meeting at 7. Didn't know if we wanted to do a finance meeting at 6.
Yes, that's fine. In the Arcand room?
In the Arcan room. And
Yep,
I will
that's good.
I will see if police and fire can come to that one as they're going to capital improvements next Monday at 6.
Are you guys tethered to Monday night? If Tuesday is open, would it make more sense to book Tuesday instead?
Tuesday, I have a Board of Health meeting.
Okay.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry, not Tuesday, not next Tuesday. The next Monday is the workshop, the 28th. The Tuesday, the 29th, I don't have anything, but Tuesday, October 6th, I have Board of Health.
Well, do we consider doing a Tuesday meeting with finance and capital? And then we can probably, do a 2 or 3 hour meeting and get everybody out of the way for the first round.
Tuesday's fine with me.
Fine with me.
Dennis, could I ask a question? Is next Monday's workshop with the Board of Selectmen, will that be actually considered a public hearing?
Again, they haven't confirmed that they're gonna meet next Monday. I sent an email out to them. So, you know, if they can, if we can schedule, it would be next Monday. But no, it won't be a public hearing. It'll just be a workshop.
Okay.
It'll be a public meeting, but it won't be a public hearing.
Okay.
So am I supposed to be, do you want me to cancel the Monday night, the 28th capital improvements meeting and do capital improvement and finance and all the departments on Tuesday, the 29th?
I think we ought to wait on that until we find out whether or not the selectmen are actually going to have the workshop on Monday night.
Okay.
Okay, the chairman is here and he's giving me the thumbs up for next Monday. So, yeah, there are 3 members here. So it looks like we are going to go forward with next Monday's.
It's Yom Kippur, anyone have an issue?
We have a forum right here, they're good. Yom Kippur.
Okay, I guess so.
Well, I mean, if it's definitely meeting next Monday, we can lighten the load, do police and fire at 6 o'clock. We'll go into the workshop and then on Tuesday we can deal with the others, if that's okay with everybody. I don't know what your schedule is, Roland. I'm available every night next week.
So you're talking 28th and 29th?
Yeah,
28 and 29.
But Joe, at 6 o'clock, you're talking about the Capital Improvement Committee, right?
Capital Improvement Committee will hear from the police and fire. And then on Tuesday, we can schedule the other people we need in, like Don and the library and the council on aging. I don't know what we're gonna do at the school. I mean, I don't know when they're gonna be ready.
They should be ready after tomorrow night's meeting. Capital item.
Okay.
Well, you guys hear that? The schools are meeting tomorrow night. They only have one more item to discuss. Everything else.
Okay.
So Mary, if we meet next Tuesday night, will we have the funding source for most of the capital items?
You'll have the funding source for a fair majority of them.
Okay. Okay, does anybody else have any other comments for this item on the agenda? Okay, next item is new business, emails, correspondence, and bills. Do we have any, Tina?
We do not.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else? That was item number 7, the final item on the agenda. Does anybody have anything?
Just want to confirm we're meeting next Tuesday next week, and Monday the following week?
No.
Or is that capital?
Capital is on Monday, next
Okay.
week.
So that's not us.
No, we're meeting, the finances meeting next Tuesday, the 29th,
That's it. Okay.
with all the departments.
Starting at what time, Tina?
Do you want to do 6 o'clock?
6 p.m. Yep. Is that okay with everybody?
Yep, that's fine.
Dennis, is that okay with you and Mary?
Works for me.
If you want to attend? Okay.
Do I have an option?
No.
It's the first time I heard that. I'll take you on that one.
And this is in person.
In person, capital improvements and finance.
No, it doesn't have to be in person. So those people that want to go in person is fine, but you can call in on Zoom if you want.
Correct.
And that's exactly what other boards and committees have been doing, John.
Yeah, I don't think we should force anybody to be in person if that's not in their comfort zone.
Yep.
So feel free to make your own choice.
Okay, I'll be there.
Okay, so I will start emailing all the departments tonight to see if they can all be available for next Tuesday to present to capital improvements and finance next Tuesday night, starting at 6.
Yeah, but the fire and police we're gonna do next Monday, correct?
Correct, fire and police are with capital improvement.
Capital. Okay.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the meeting's adjourned at 6:48 PM. Thank you.